This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So we're going to see object level replication. Yesterday, we have seen geo replication, like how you can entirely replicate database. That is something you don't have a choice to choose objects there, right? So sometimes you definitely have to replicate some objects between the servers for some business reasons. So there, how you need to do, and it's not, it's a, like you can do between the on-prem to cloud, cloud to cloud, cloud to on-prem using this technology. We'll call it as sync groups. In replication, the name in the other name in the cloud is sync groups. Anyway, I'll create one in India, one in US. We'll use on-prem also. My local laptop also integrate to the replication group. So I'll go with the SQL authentication. We discussed about how do we integrate AD accounts on the past SQL server, right? We discussed about groups and groups implementation already. So I'm skipping that part for now. Networking, I'm going to open. Um, we discussed about creating networks in each region and peering them, making the communication between that you must do in the real time. So each region there will be networks which you need to integrate with the SQL, and then we need to enable the private endpoints. That also we have done, right? So that's why I covered infrastructure first and then covering the product next. So I'm directly opening the firewall, SQL to SQL. Okay. So here lab 0808. So now I'm opening the connection again and creating it. One in India, one in US, one will be my laptop. So you're doing the replica group on different platforms here. You can say that different like one in cloud, one in you can go to the cloud VM also anywhere. The process is same. I'll talk about it how the communication can be formed between different objects and then transfer the data. In fact. So this can be used in many ways. I'll talk about every use case that we use in the real time, this technology. You just follow this. They are under progress. So when this is progressing, let's talk about what we're going to achieve in our class. So here I have the cloud. In the cloud, I created two SQLs, so one in India, one in US, and this is my laptop somewhere in the world. It is no way, integrated with the cloud network at all. So how we form the network through the agent, we're going to see that entirely from the scratch. So what we're going to achieve is, I have the database here. Here also you have the database. Here also you have the, you have to create manually. It won't initialize the database. It only initialize the objects. If I do anything here, it should reflect in both the cloud servers. This is my intention. If I do anything here, okay, it should reflect here. It should reflect here also. One direction also I'll show it anyway. So if I do anything here, it should reflect here. It should reflect here, which is we in the on-prem, what do we call? So we have four different types of replication in on-prem. Snapshot replication, transactional, transactional updatable, and merge. So this is equivalent to merge replication, transactional with updatable subscription, equivalent to that. Both are equivalent, in fact. It does replication everywhere. If I wanted to one direction, other way around, I wanted only this should send the transactions to other members. Only this is only the publisher kind of thing for you. We'll call it a hub. Publisher, called it as a hub database here. These are all members. No, I don't want that. I want it in the reverse order. All members should send the data to hub. So what direction? One direction it is. Okay, bidirectional or one directional replication. This is equivalent to transactional replication in the on-prem. There are terms a little different. The conceptually things are same. There is no great difference. Okay, so either you want to do one direction replication or bidirectional replication. So I'll show the bidirectional because one direction anyway I'll talk about when I'm doing the configuration itself. You can easily get it. So most of the time we'll spend on the issues side, not on the configuration, because you can easily, learn the configuration from anywhere from the YouTube, but the issues we are going to spend time. That's where you need to catch. So I'm creating empty databases in both the servers. This technology does not initialize the database. Geo-replication, it creates database automatically that we have seen, right? Database name can be anything, it doesn't matter. It no need to be same. In geo-replication, you cannot name the database, right? It will automatically pick the same name. It initializes, in fact, the entire database. So you don't have a choice to give a database name. Here you have, in a way. It doesn't matter what name you're creating a database. Fine. So this service will not let us to directly connect. What we need to do, we need to open the firewall. I discussed a fair amount of time I spent here. What is integrated network? Okay, what is integrated network? What is from the external network? What is within the Azure? How we can make a connection? And what is a private endpoint? What are the advantages of private endpoint? We have seen all of that. So I'm directly making a connection. Authentication methods we already discussed. So I'm connecting the skill. It's going to the filter. So we have one database, one server, one database. That's enough for our discussion. Right, here I did not open the IP yet. So I need to open the IP, public IP. I discussed we should not open the public IP at all in the real time. So the reasons I explained, right? Like what are the things we went through before we open one public IP itself with the external client. So there are a lot of discussions we had. You should not open any public IPs. They are a security risk, in fact, in the real world. So now it is the same name, but it doesn't need to be same name. It can be any name, doesn't matter. So I'm going to keep my on-prem server also in the list. I'll create one database. So all are empty as of now. There is nothing as of now. Database are empty. I just created empty databases intentionally to show you the most of the use cases that this technology fulfills. Right. So now let's come back to the diagram. So here, if I do anything, I wanted to do in a bidirectional replication here in our class. So one direction is simple anyway. I'll give you a fair idea when I'm doing it itself. So if you do here any update, it updates everywhere. If I do anything here, it updates everywhere. So there could be a conflict of transaction. There is a probability. So whenever this is a member, this is also a member, this is a hub. This is a hub, okay? When this is a hub, actually, when you have a one hub, one member configuration, then member can win the transaction or hub can win the transaction in case of conflict of transaction. If you are modifying first record, first ID, here also modifying the first ID, there is a conflict. So which one to be finalized at the end? Because you modified on the same record in both the locations, one need to be finalized at the end, else data inconsistency can be created. To maintain the consistency of the data, you need to override one of the data from one member. So if you have, you know, if you have one hub, one member, then you can either win the hub or win the member. It is okay. When you have a more than one member, hub always should win on the transaction side in case of conflict. So I'll talk about this, how this case can be, showcased in the real world. I'm going to talk about that, how this will work in the real time. Understand it. In case of transaction conflict, one member or hub should win. Win in the sense that the data which need to be finalized in case of conflict, either member data or a hub data. Member data you can actually make it predominated when you have one hub, one member. But I have two members, so I don't have a choice. I definitely go with the hub win case in our discussion. Next is sync
What does hub
schedule.
mean here?
Hub is
What
equivalent to
does
your publisher kind of thing, you can say.
okay,
Hub
and
is
the
like a
other two are
publisher.
other two
Members,
are
there's
receivers.
receivers or subscriber. You can just correlate it that way. But
Okay.
here, even subscriber can initialize the data, not just the publisher. Anyone can initialize the data. That's a good thing here. Little bit of advanced on the replication. Technology is replication only, but it's not exactly like on-prem in terms of data initialization. Anyone can initialize data from anywhere. I'm going to do that in all use cases anyway in our class itself.
Ravi, with this, can't we get the primary key violation errors?
Yes, yes, we do. We'll talk about that. Don't worry.
Okay, okay.
We're going to talk about that. So everywhere that is there in the replications, you cannot replicate a table if table doesn't have the primary key. In fact, you must have the primary key on the table.
Yep.
Okay, fine. So sync schedule. There is a sync schedule. I can keep it like it will come with a 1 second to 30 days. You can like sync it between these 30 days to 1 second here. So what we're going to do? Okay. So let's configure it and then I'll come back to the diagrams anyway. I'm going to create three tables here intentionally. I'm creating a primary key, two tables with primary key, one table without primary key. Let's go that way. Right. So I'm going to enter some data into each table, a random data. It doesn't make any sense, but I just need some data to show you that I'm keeping just three records of data each table to show that it also initializes the data along with the object. And now I'm going to configure. So you don't have to have the data here only, and then you have to configure. In fact, you can have the data from anywhere. I'll talk about that scenario. We're going to talk a lot of scenarios. You just follow it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the database where I have, if I know the source server, this is my source, and where I'm going to initialize. and this lab database. Click on this. There is an option called sync to other database. Replicas I covered already, right? We can create multiple, geo-replication database up to 4 from the primary that I discussed. Sync to other database. This is what you have to use it. Sync to other database. Click on the new sync group and then give the name. So I'm going to go call it as a merge replication, the name, and I'm going to use existing. We already created one database called lab, right? Automatic sync. The sync should happen every 5 minutes. Intentionally, I'm keeping 5 minutes to show you that how it reflects the transactions. I can reduce the time, I can increase the time at any point of time. And this is what exactly you have to configure. Which one should be win in case of transaction conflict? If I have only one hub, one member, then hub win the transaction or member win the transaction doesn't make sense. I mean, either of the thing you can choose, any one of it. But when you have more than one member and one hub, hub should always win on the transaction in case of conflict. That is a rule of thumb you need to follow. Okay, more members, one hub, hub always should win the transaction. One member, one hub, either member can win the transaction or a hub can win the transaction. There is no issue. It is your choice. But when you have more members, there is no choice. You have to always use the hub win. So it is connecting to the server internally using this technology. So you need to authorize it, giving the username password. Private link I did not create. How the private link is will work, we discussed that with the already discussed. I was showing that ping, when you ping, it is giving the backend private IP and the fast SQL server. If not, it was going through the gateway. I was explain all that during the private endpoint creation, right? So now I'm creating the hub. This will take a minute.
So Ravi, where you are configuring will become hub node.
In the cloud.
Yes. Now you have chosen lab, right? So this will become hub, correct?
Right, it is a hub, yeah. What we have chosen just now. We have one database. I picked up that actually. Yeah. So here, if you look at,
So this
we choose this
in,
lab data.
from any server you will do this sync group. So we created three servers. Now from which server we'll do that sync to other databases, sync group.
You have to initialize at
Yes.
least from the cloud only, any of the database. But wherever you started, that is a hub by default. So I'm starting on the Ravi 088. That's why it is going to hub database. Next are the members. But that actually you can initialize the replication from anywhere. You don't have to. Hub should be, wherever you configure, that is a hub, but the rest will be members. Only in case of
That's
conflict of.
okay. That server also or no? We had three servers now.
Mm,
We
mm,
created
mm,
three servers.
mm.
So
Two
from
in the
any
cloud, one in
server,
the on-prem.
okay, okay. So from the cloud server we have to create from any DB.
Right, in the cloud only you have to do this.
Okay.
Any of the server, for that matter. Okay, now I went to the Ravi 008 lab database and then I just enabled the sync group. Nothing else we did. Just we clicked on this, we picked up the database and then give the username password and click it to OK. So I just enabled the hub database as of now. Click on this. I wanted to add other members also. So we have only one hub, so I wanted to add the members. Add Azure, add on-prem. You see the options here? So I'm going to add cloud member, cloud member. What is our other server which is in the US? This one. And what database it has? Lab. And what is the sync direction? Bidirectional. So this is what you need to understand. Bidirectional means you do in one location, replicate everywhere. It is a kind of merge replication to the hub. this member will send the data to the India server. To the hub means you're sending towards. From the hub means India server will send the data to the US server. So one relation here. Okay, one side relation. So to the hub or from the hub, you're sending towards the hub or you're taking the from the hub. So this will define. So when you're configuring it, you want to push the data to hub or you want to take the data from the hub. So based on that, you have to choose this option. So if your hub is sending from the hub, if your hub is taking the data to the hub, you have to choose the right choice. I'm going with the bidirectional. This is a little complex because it has a transaction conflicts and all that. This you can do it. It is simple. Maybe when I discuss all the scenarios, you can easily understand how this technology works.
What is the
So
placement
direction
of
of
this
the
will be here?
data movement.
Bidirectional or to the hub or from the hub
This
in
is
general
one direction.
scenarios.
It
Okay.
is one direction. One direction data will be sent. Only one direction. To the hub
In
means
general,
member
which one? That's what I understood. Which one we will use in most of the cases in real life?
anything like it is a situational. You cannot just say that, but yeah, mostly we will use from the hub. In fact, from the cloud
Okay.
to you operate in the cloud, you are syncing other members. You might sync in the on-prem also. This is the case we are using mostly, but direction it
Okay.
is simple. It is very
Okay.
simple. In fact, you add the members, you have the hub. Whatever you add into the hub, it will replicate in the secondaries. That's it. No
Okay.
other direction. This is a little complex. That's why I wanted
Okay.
to cover this use case.
Okay.
So I'm clicking on OK. I'm adding the second member. I'm defining the direction of the replication and then server and database. Clicking it OK. So this will add up the cloud database straight away. There is no fancy thing, much of the fancy thing you can do here. It is simple. But on-prem, this is where the actual thing you need to understand because it's not straightforward. So let it when it is doing, click on the add on-prem. Here you don't have any configuration yet. I have to do it. Choose sync gateway. It will take you to, I don't have a gateway already configured. So I wanted to go with a new, create a new. There are 3 steps to do it. It is suggesting 3 steps automatically. It is saying that download the sync agent and it is necessary to install, allow the permission to connect and all that. So click on the download. It will take you to the URL where you can download the setup and then install your on-prem. So this is what I wanted. Okay, sync agent. It is a 32-bit agent. This is 64-bit agent. You can see this cross 86, cross 64. This terms and conditions I don't want anyway. This first one I need. Let me see. I have that or not. Control panel. We have to take an install. Since I don't have, fine. So now I'm going to install this. When we are installing it, understand few things. This is .msc. So it'll build one service actually, Microsoft SQL Data Sync. You don't find that service here. Microsoft is M, right? Microsoft Data Sync. So you see this one. There are two Microsoft Defender and there are only 2 services starting with this Microsoft that D later. So if I install this, it will create a service automatically. That service need to talk to the on-prem SQL server. So it need a service account when you are installing it. So agree the terms. Next, this service account need to be part of on-prem SQL server login list. It is mandatory. Okay, I'm using this account, my local account. In the real time, this is actually the domain account. Okay, so I'm using this account. I'm going to use that account password. So when I install that service, I'm using one account. This account should be part of the login list in the SQL Server in the on-prem, and also that account should have a DB owner privilege on the target database, DB owner privilege on the replication database where I'm going to replicate. At least it should have the privilege on the database. This is sysadmin anyway. You don't have to have a sysadmin account in the real time. Domain account, the domain account should have the DB owner privilege where you are going to replicate the data, right? So that must be taken care, else it won't work. Hit next, hit next, next. It does the installation. When it does the installation, it creates a service. In fact, take some time. It is successfully installed. Okay, so now if I refresh, you'll find a service. Microsoft Sync, this one. See this one? It is running with Ravinder and it is automated. It started already. So now what I'm going to do, open that data sync agent. See this one, Microsoft SQL data sync agent. Click on this. This is how it look like when you installed and open. So as per the website suggestion, you install. So it is necessary to install sync agent to allow on-prem databases to connect to your Azure database. Good enough. Give a name. SQL replication. You can give any name. It doesn't matter what name you're giving. You just give a name and generate the key. This key will hold that name. Okay. It is not definitely go with some name. It can be any name, but it is generating a key. Within that key, this name will be embedded. So you give a meaningful name in the real time. I'm just showing you that anything you can give, it doesn't matter. Still it works. I'm going to submit this key inside this agent. This key will authorize to talk to cloud. Okay. So one thing actually, this very, very important point. There is an agent we are building on the on-prem. This is an agent. Okay. This on-prem server talking to this server and this server through the agent only. This agent can hold only one account password. So when you're adding cloud server, cloud side, the account should be same. And that account should have a DB ownership on the cloud databases. I'm using Ravinder here. If you look at here, what exactly I mean. Anyway, after the configuration, I'll show it because we cannot go from this page now. I have two databases towards cloud, and in on-prem, I'm giving an agent. I'm embedding the cloud key here to talk to the cloud. To reach the servers, I need the login and password. In fact, the login password should be same for both the cloud servers because this agent can only accept one username password. Okay, so you must have the cloud side one account when you're doing it. So if I do it this thing, it is connection successful when you're testing it. Click it OK. Are registered, right? Once I register, these options are enabled. Now I'll go and add my on-prem Ravinder PC. I'll add the database Ravinder-PC. Database is a replication. Test. It is testing. How it is testing when I'm doing it? It is going through this service. It is going through this login and connecting to SQL Server and checking the database replication. So this tool has the authorization to talk to your SQL Server. That's why it is able to check it. Okay, I'm saving it. As soon as you save it in this tool, then you will find this server and database in the cloud. This is how the registration process will go. So click it OK. Then you can add this as like on-prem DB, on-prem server, whatever it is. I can see that server. Ravinder PC replication, direction is bi-directional, what I wanted. If I wanted to send on-prem to cloud, I wanted to send the data from on-prem to cloud, what I have to do? To the hub. The on-prem, if I modify anything in the on-prem, it will update in the cloud automatically. If I wanted the data from cloud to on-prem, I'll use the from the hub. If I update anything in the hub database, it reflect in the on-prem server. One direction. You're choosing the direction here. We are going the bi-directional here. Click it OK. Right. So you added on-prem server and you designed the gateway and then click it OK. So you added cloud member, you added on-prem member. Total we have 3 servers into the replica group, which is a sync group. You see this? 3 servers. Now I need to add the tables. Tables can be initialized from anywhere. You don't have to initialize from the hub only. I'll initialize from every member. I'm going to show that one after the other. First, as I have the data for now here in the hub, 2 tables with the primary key. This cable doesn't have the primary key. Intentionally, I did not add the primary key there because I wanted to show that with primary key, without primary key, how it behaves, right? So I don't need this here now. So I'll come here. See, you go to the
Ravi?
database. Yeah, got
Yeah. And the ID which you entered in the agent, right? That ID is from cloud, right?
from cloud. Yes, it generates the idea automatically. Yeah.
Okay. So you are using SQL authentication. Can I use Active Directory from cloud, or
Yes.
it's only
No, why not? When you're adding the member here, the key, okay, you give the key. You can give the Active Directory account also. That Active Directory account should be created as a user in cloud database, or that Active Directory should talk to the those databases.
okay?
You can use it, not just the SQL account. You can use the Active Directory account also. It just connects how you connected from the SSMS. We connected using the Active Directory account from the SMS, local SMS, right? The same way,
Okay.
the account should exist.
Okay.
Okay, it can work with the Active Directory accounts also. We just need the account. That account need to talk to the databases. Fine. So now I have two tables from this database. So I'm going to initialize this. This is only the reason I'm going with the hub for now. I'll initialize from this. I'll initialize from this also. I'll show that how we can initialize from anywhere. It doesn't matter. So click on the sync and then click on the merge replication what given a name and then go to the tables. I'm going to initialize from the hub database. Hub is from where you configured. Cloud member, on-prem member. This is how it look like. Refresh the schema. It connects to the hub database. It loads all the objects of the hub. So this might take 5 to 10 minutes if you have big, too many tables in a single database. It's not about big tables. It reads the data, number of columns also. See this one, number of rows in each table, number of columns in each table. Sorry, number of columns. So I'm selecting 2 tables for now. Again, I can even unselect particular column also if I don't want. This is called in on-prem we have vertical filter, horizontal filter in the replication. If you know that, you can only replicate certain rows, you can only replicate certain columns also in the replication in the on-prem. So here we have a vertical filter, not horizontal filter. Vertical filter in the sense column filter. You wanted to replicate particular columns only, then you can choose this. I'm replicating entire table, 2 tables. So now before it creates a lot of tables internally. You don't worry about them. For tracking purpose, it creates a lot of technology table that hub database or any. Here it is create a lot of tables. In the subscriber end also it will create some system related tables you don't have to worry about. Here in the on-prem also Right. You see this one? Tables got initialized. If I come here, you should see that student, teacher, here also student and teacher. Now, if I go and read this table, okay, oh, you don't have data yet. So, which means data sync is not happened yet. Schema, here it is done, but not here. So, if it is not done, it will fill the gap in the next sync, next schedule. Right, it is loaded thread. Good enough. Let me see this table. Right, here also data got loaded. Now I'll do the simulations of real time. So a lot of use cases I'll cover, just follow it. So this is where I have it. So I can update anywhere. In fact, first I'll update here and then I'll show there. So if I read from the source, this is source, I have only 3 records. Nothing is source, everything is a source anyway here. Now here also 3 records. Obviously you'll have the same record count. And here also here. Now what I'm going to do, in the hub, I'm going to insert 2 records. Just I'm editing it. 4th record, 5th record. If I try to go with the 4th record, anyway it will throw the error. Should not. It is a primary key. It inbuilt comes with the uniqueness. So 5th. One thing I would have talked about here when I was adding the objects. So you see this one? This is not allowing us to select. Why? Tables without primary key are not supported, clearly written. You must have a primary key on every table to add into the replication here. Either it can be one directional or bidirectional, you must have a primary key. It is mandatory. So I cannot replicate this table as of now, right? That's why we able to add only these 2 tables as of now. So now, if I read this one, 3 records, if I read this one, 3 records, here I entered some data, right? Right, 2 records. These 2 records will reflect here after 5 minutes because I kept a schedule on the replica sync. So go to sync group. So if I go to the properties, I kept 5 minutes sync. So if I go to the, here, it is not generated any logs. You have the logs anyway here. So 7:39 the last sync happened. So next 7:44 it will sync. So I don't want to wait. I'll sync manually. It will sync. At least I'll give a last time. We will do certain syncs manually. Then we'll wait on the last side. I mean, when I do the transaction on the last on-prem server, there I'll wait to sync on it one. For now, we should not waste time. So I'm syncing it manually, intentionally to show you that the data is replicated to other members. So if I come to here, if I read the data here, you'll find the 5 records. If I read the data here, you'll find the 5 records. So sync will take care. This is like a distributor for us, which is actually syncing the data. You don't have a distributor here, hub and member only, but the cloud is acting like a distributor. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the change on the other US server here. Why I'm going to do everywhere? Just to prove that data is actually syncing everywhere to everywhere. So 6th record, 7th record, 2 records enough. Now, 743, it is a 7 records. Come on, it is synced up. It seems the trigger, this got triggered automatic one. 7:43. Yeah, it is triggered by the automatic scheduler. This one I ran it manually. This got just triggered right after I inserted the data. That's why it is quickly synced up. Data synced up everywhere. It's not synced up. So some members can be skipped with some updates in one schedule, but in the next schedule, it definitely catch up. You never see the data gap at all. If I run the sync again, whatever the member was not synced with the last update, it will sync in the next schedule. That's how it works. So you got the data. Now I'll modify in the on-prem. This time we'll wait to get this updated on its own. So what is the time? It is actually goes with exactly 7:44. So this will take literally long time then. So wait, I'll change this one to instead of 5 minutes to 2 minutes, just to not wait too long. Every 2 minutes the sync will happen. You can change the time at any point of time. And the properties you can change. It is doing the job. It is not reflected yet, the change. So 144. So now this got finished. So it should turn to 2 minute scheduler. So it should trigger in a minute at least. Yeah. So before it triggered, so if I go and read 7 records, 7 records, this is on-prem 9 records. See, 8, 9. Okay. So now let's see this. You can only find here what's the status when it's triggered, all that. So it might trigger at any moment. 746, 744, 18. 746, 18 most probably it will trigger. Pick up the schedule it or not. You just change it, so it might delay it first time, but it will pick up that schedule. Right, it is triggered. 747 2. It is triggered for one member on-prem. So others also should follow. Here it is triggered for this one. You see the log. You are looking at the log here. So it is. So now if I go and read in the on-prem server we had 9. In the cloud service we were having 7. So now it is 9 here. If it is synced, this also should be 9. See, it got synced. Now other use case, I'll update here one record. How it syncs. This is a 10th record, 11th record. Everywhere mismatching data. There's another case. Here 12th record and 13th record. the sequence is broken. Let me enter one more also. In the on-prem, 14 and 15. So what I wanted to prove here is data in every member is different because everywhere data is getting generated in every member. In everywhere I'm doing the business. Ultimately, everything need to be synced. So now if you look at 10, then 9, 10, 11, 12, it is synced it seems. Is it? It is. Yeah. If I go to here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 15 is 14, 15 is not synced. The 14, 15 is not synced yet. Maybe there is a one more scheduler trigger. See 7, 14 and triggered. Anyway, so data is not sequential. Like 11, 12, 13. Look at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So it filled up the gap. Anyway, it does it keeps the data in the sequential order, though. Here, if I go with the 9, 10, I went with here, and then 11, 12 in another member, but before that it got synced. I'll change this to, that's why I kept 5 minutes, 3 minutes at least, not to trigger immediately. I wanted to show that data gap. So here we would have add 9, 10, and here 11, 12. After 8, 9, after 8, 9, we enter different data in every copy, in fact. So data was not in the sequential. When it gets synced, it will keep the data in the sequence. That's the goodness of this technology. Even data was not in the order, it will make the data order. So now 15 is not here, but it is there in the on-prem. So I need to trigger manually to get that also synced. You guys confusing or following?
Following.
Confused? Following. Good. So data will be ordered automatically. You don't have to worry about. Though data was jumbled in each member, when it gets synced data with the members, it will get ordered. It will get ordered. That's a good thing. Okay, now other use case. Let me make this little longer because before I do it, triggers. I just changed. Right, it's switched the schedule, switched it. Okay, then if I refresh the logs, 10:51. Okay, I have 4 minutes. So let's follow this conflict of transaction. This is very important operation, especially going to edit here. I'm keeping 16th record everywhere 16th. So example Meswin US 16th record. Now I'll go to here. So next I'll go edit here also 16th. Okay, 16th. So just for the use case, I'm writing a data here. Everywhere one record is same and data is different. This is a conflict of transaction, in fact. Okay, it's very rarely happens, but it happens. Okay, now you go and read. Every copy has a different data on the same record. This is a Koti 16th. This is a Aroshi, and this is a Meshwin. Right. So now when the sync happens, so this data will be overwritten. This is a hub, in fact. In our case, this is a hub. Ravi 0808, this is a hub. These are all actually members. So we designed and we took the choice that hub should win because we have two members in our case. If you have only one member, maybe member also can win. There will be no issue. Whenever you have more than one member in the replica sync group, you definitely choose hub win. This is something is a kind of technology requirement. Still, at what time it will trigger? Let it trigger on its own. 7:51, 7:54, so almost in a minute and off. It will trigger as we have a scheduler. Not yet trigger. It will trigger in a minute most probably. So when that get triggered, what do you see? This is also overwritten with the mesh fin. Here also overwritten with the mesh fin because this is a hub. Hub data is final because we choose that option. Hub should win in the case of conflict of transaction. This is a conflict because you modify, you're working on the same record everywhere, right? One should be finalized at the end to make the data consistent. Every copy having a different data that is inconsistent. That should not be the case. So everywhere data should be same. So in this case, the hub will win and the members data will get overwritten with the hub data. Not yet.
But one have no primary key, right? So how it will be disabled?
Sorry, can you come again, please?
One table have no primary key, right?
No, that is
Okay,
not
okay,
part of
okay,
our discussion. We're
okay,
talking
okay.
only about
Yeah,
same table everywhere.
yeah, got it.
Not yet. It should trigger 51, 756. Yeah, in this minute it will should trigger. Maybe in 20 seconds. Right, it is 10:56. It is triggered. Let's wait for the other member to trigger. It is triggered on the first member anyway. Right, it is triggered for the other also. Now you go and verify the data. So here you were having the query. Now it is mesh fin. See, Aroshi, you were having Aroshi here. That also got changed. So ultimately, the hub data got overwritten because the choice that we chose, we have selected when we configured it. Right? You guys following? Yes or no?
Yes, Ravi, but for example, let
Yes.
us assume the data which is coming from other members also, the valid data, let us assume. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I am entering the data from hub server. You are entering the
Mm-hmm.
data from a member server. Another person is entering the data from another member. So these three
Mm-hmm.
data are different, but they don't know, right? If the data is overridden, again, they need to verify and they need to enter the data manually or how it is.
Yes, if it is the case, if they see that what they entered data they entered. So basically, thing is here, you have a conflict. The conflict must be resolved. If not, every copy will have a different data, which is
Obviously.
create the inconsistent. So this is a caveat of this technology. I mean, you can say that this is a loophole in this technology. You can say that. You can say Is it intentional? You need to tell to the business before you configure this. In fact, if there is any conflict happens, whatever the data you enter on the hub side is the final. That is, we are not responsible. The technology is responsible for it. We did not develop. You need to tell them before we do this.
Okay.
So it is there by design. You cannot do anything. You need to understand it,
Yeah,
and we need
correct.
to
Otherwise,
inform them.
everything data inconsistency will come. Yep.
Right, right. So everywhere that is a big mess around the business. You lose the entire
Mm.
business for
So
that.
we can see what member data uh, added that in that 16th row in logs or somewhere.
I
Which
lost.
are
Can you please
sync.
come again? Can you please come again?
Yeah, we can see what members data have entered in the logs or somewhere before sync.
Uh, Good question. So this you cannot do, but you can do that you with the auditing. Data auditing I'm going to cover tomorrow. Auditing. Data auditing. Every transaction data will be recorded and traced, and you can verify it. If you want that question to be answered, that comes in the tomorrow class. I mean, how you trace out who did what and what transaction, what ID. Everything we can go through the audit data. That something I did not do parallelly. So we will talk about in detail in the tomorrow class. I mean, I'll show that who did what and what an ID. If they see the mismatching information what they have entered, they can go and check the audit data. So who did entered on the hub side, who did enter the subscriber member side. We can see that with audit data. Every single trace of action will be recorded in the audit. You don't have a choice to filter anyway, like on-prem. In the on-prem, you can choose what to be audited, like delete, insert, update. But in the on-prem, you don't have. It is equivalent to profiler on the database. It traces everything. We'll see that. That side also will see it. Anyway, so any questions on the conflict? At least, I mean, this is how it is. You need to understand it. You cannot do anything because the product design itself is made like that. Yes, it's a good point that everywhere data is valid and the data hub data is overwritten, then that is something is from the business perspective, data is lost. But that's how the technology, you have to tell them before you configure it. This is happens, when you do this kind of, transactions and the bi-directional replication. If they're asking, we can do, but we need to tell the conflict of transaction how it will be done. You have to demo to them. So they need to understand. If they're okay, then only we will do it. Of course. We will showcase all the use cases to them. That's why I'm talking about every use case here. Any questions further? I'll stop this for intentionally.
Uh, Ravi, last question from my side. So, for
Yeah.
example, in the first interval, the data sync was not happen. In the first interval, we have 1,000 transactions. Let us assume. In the second interval, we do have another 1,000 transactions. Now, for
Mm.
one of the member, it could be 2,000 transactions, right? There could be any
Right.
data latencies or like that.
Yeah, there will be. If your servers are geographically too far, maybe one in India, one in US, what I'm talking here, uh,
Hmm.
i- your scheduler taking care of, in fact, you wanted instant data to be replicated, go with the 2 seconds window. You can go with the seconds also, in fact. So in that case, you see the data mostly instantly, almost instant, asynchronous almost, mirroring asynchronous, this equivalent to.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So here I kept the latency intentionally to show that there should be a gap, right? In fact,
Yes.
how can I demo you that how things are working? Because I kept little latency. Then only I can
Okay.
show that okay, this is how it is happening. But you can change it. You can change this. Maybe my hub is actually the live database. The other members are reporting database. Every week they need to be refreshed. Then I'll go with the 7 days and 7 days. Every 7 days it will get refreshed with all the data, whatever the modification done in last 7 days. Every 7 days only. Every month I
Okay.
need a database refreshment. Like this is what people ask. One is a production, one is a pre-prod. From pre-prod to production, every 1 month it has to be refreshed. Every 1 month automatically. You can use this technology. Every 1 month it will get sync the data. This can be used in many ways. I'll complete at the end. How
Okay.
what are the different use cases, we can use this technology.
So Ravi,
First,
how many sync group we can create? Like here are three database you have used and one sync group. So on that
uh
same database, how many sync group you can create?
you can create a
Is
number
that
as long as there is no overlap of the object. So
but
I can create.
if we
Uh,
create that sync group here, you mention like a hub always win. And if I create another sync group and there I'll mention like a member on the group win that group. In that there will be no conflict
there is
between two groups.
no object, right? You cannot claim the same object. So that's a different object. You can create one more sync group, and that sync group with go with a different object group, not the same.
Yeah, okay. So I
Okay?
cannot create another group for same object like a three this
No, 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 no,
database.
no, no. You cannot.
Then this will be conflict. Okay.
Yes. The same thing in the on-prem also. The same. If you already join into one, you cannot add that same object to different. It will throw the error also.
So Ravi, how this feature is
So
different
object
from
here is a
database?
database, right? Hello?
Guys, can you hear me? I joined through mobile. Actually, I lost the power here.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
hear me?
yes. We are yep.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good enough. So let's move on. So what I was
Yeah,
talking
Ravi,
in
one thing I was asking, the object for which we are creating the sync group, the object is just a database only, right? That's what you are calling the object.
no, no, object here table. Object here is table.
Okay, so table, okay, we are creating sync groups and we cannot create for two sync groups for same tables, correct?
No, 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 no. For same table, you cannot create two sync groups, only one sync. Else it will be discrepancy. Data
Okay.
discrepancy can be created. One table, one sync group. So you want to create one more sync group with a different data table group, then you can do it.
But we are creating at the database level, na, sync group though. So is it at
It
table
is
level?
object level. It is a table level. That's what I talked about in the beginning itself. This technology is at the object level, not database level. It's a replication equivalent to your on-prem replication. It's object level replication, not entire database. You can select all tables if you want. That's a different story. But you have a choice to choose the tables.
Okay, like here from here only, na, where we when we created the sync group, can you show again like where we mentioned tables?
When we went to the database here, when we into the sync group here and the sync group, so we picked up what tables we wanted, not all.
Okay.
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 Let me do one more thing to make you clear. I wanted to initialize not just from the hub. I can initialize from anywhere. Doesn't matter. So I'm creating a new table in the okay this table. Let's add up this table. Lab. Lab is not eligible to add into the replica group, that is sync group. The reason behind was it was not having the primary key. That's why it is grayed out. It was not letting us to select. Now I create the primary key and then sync it quickly. So here it is grayed out. I'm not able to select this. So now I'll go to the table design. Oh, come on. My connection got lost. Why? I reconnected through mobile net, so my IP got changed. I lost the authorization on both the SQL servers. I need to add my current IP back again. Fine. Come back to our discussion. Going to our databases here. The table was grayed out because it was not having the primary key. I'm going to add it. Oh, sorry, not edit. I need to go to design. This table shouldn't have any duplicate entries. If it has any duplicate entries, you cannot add a primary key. As simple as it is. Right. Now the primary key got added. Now if I refresh, I can select this object into the sync group. This is one case, one use case. If anybody is asking you to select new tables into the replica the sync group, then you have to add the primary key and then get it added. So now it is able, we are able to save it and then refresh. It gets reflected in other members, but again on the schedule basis. If you, I have 5 minutes schedule, so I'll see how long it takes. I'll quickly run it because we need to cover some more use cases. So the table is not yet reflected here, so I'll run the sync. You don't run manually any sync in the real time, but I wanted to show that it is, we are running it, it is happening it. So I can wait for this scheduler to run, it will take care, but we cannot wait. Let's see lab. Here also you'll find the lab. Now I'll create a new table here.
Ravi?
Hello, can you guys hear me? I was on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, really? Oh, come on, really? I was on mute. What happened to this? Why it went to mute? Sorry, maybe the reconnect could have caused this mess. So now, what I was saying is, I'm creating a table on the other cloud member with the primary key. I'm adding some sample data here. That's what I did so far, nothing else. Okay. And this table, I'm going to initialize. So what I wanted to prove out of this, you can initialize the data from anywhere. It's not just a hub. Hub is just you configured the sync group. That is the only thing. But data can be initialized from anywhere. Installation can come from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Right. So now there is a table in the US member. So what I'll do, I'll go to this time. When I initialize the data, I'll go to the cloud member. This is a US member for us. Now I'll pick up the customer table from here and then initialize. I can create one more table in the on-prem. I can initialize from the on-prem. When we do the cloud migration, you can use this cloud migration. So you this is a member, this is a hub in the cloud. You initialize it from member to hub data. Keep the data to the hub and then initialize the data. Then whatever the transactions you do in here, it will reflect here. So on the migration day, you stop all the applications, you disable all the application accounts, and no one should do any transaction. Then do the table record count. If everything is fine, remove the replication. Uh, they will map their application to cloud server, cloud database. This way you can do the live migration using the sync groups. Live migration, in fact. So I'm initializing the customer table from the US member, a new, I mean from the US member, not from the hub database. You can initialize the data from anywhere, which is a good thing in the cloud. I'll run this sync manually.
So for that sync, we need all the tables data types in the same order, right?
Mm. Data types, it's okay, but tables must have a primary key.
No, no. But if so in this customer, if your data type order is int only int, and then only varchar, some suppose. So it
It
will
can
be
be
reflect.
anything. It reflect anything. So it is a design that you don't go that level, don't have to. So table got initialized here. In the on-prem also, whatever it is int or int, doesn't matter. What matters is object. So data is not reflected yet. It is doing the installation maybe. Right.
Ravinder, you are doing the installation from the hub configuration DB server, right?
Going on, in fact. Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So Ilyas, you're asking something?
Yeah. So Ravi, you are doing this initialization from the hub configuration setup, right? Can we
Hmm.
do this from the member the configuration also? How the
Yes, yes.
configuration set?
That's what I'm doing right now. I initialize a table customer from the other member.
No, no. On the
Okay.
Azure portal, right? You went to the configuration where you created the sync group. My question, I can do
Uh,
that from other member sync setup also. Yeah.
from here you cannot see it. You have to do from where you have done. That is a hub. That is a management.
Uh,
That is where you manage everything. It is a
okay.
distributor. It is a kind of a coordinator. That's because you configured from here. You cannot see it from here.
Here.
The
Okay.
same thing. It is only from here. That's why it is a hub because you are configuring there. It is a
Okay.
management. It is kind of a management for you. Entire sync group management can go through that hub only.
Okay.
Okay. Good question.
So Ravi, I have one more
So
question.
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. How this feature is differ from peer-to-peer replication, except on-prem to cloud synchronization? Do you have any
Mm.
difference, Ravi, peer-to-peer and the sync to other databases?
No, no. There also you have the same conflict resolution based on the priorities. It is also similar thing. Yes, almost similar thing.
Okay.
There is no great difference. Similar implementation. But the problem was, I guess, object initialization you can do from the publisher only, where you published, not from anywhere. Sync will happen, but publishing is responsible to sync the object from the publisher only, not from the other members. I feel that's the difference. Fine. So now last thing, guys. I mean, I have to talk few more use cases. I'll extend a little today's class. So now I'll go to here. I'll create one more table, maybe class number, integer, okay, class name, char, and then I'll just set the primary key. Table name is class. The class, oh, come on. This table is not initialized yet. Okay, this one. So I'm going to insert some data and then initialize it. Right. So now I wanted to initialize that object, this object, in other members. So what I wanted to prove again, you can initialize data from anywhere. Only hub is only management database in the cloud. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything from the hub. Hub can receive the data, send the data after the configuration, and you can initialize data not from the hub. You can initialize from anywhere. So keep all these points in mind. So class is not there. I'm coming here. I'm going to connect to the on-prem, refresh the table which I have here. The beginning initialization itself, if you do from on-prem, it initializes the tables in the both the cloud servers from the scratch. What are the tables you wanted to keep in the sync group? So I'm keeping class from on-prem, saving it. It syncs. It will become 4 to 5 tables now because you're adding more and more tables. The table count is growing. First we had 3, then 4, then 5th. Take some time to detect. Right, show this. It turned to 5. Now, this table, let's see if it is synced up good enough. If not, I'll do it. I mean, the sync, I'll run it. There's no class. I don't want to wait. I'll run it. It does run it one. You don't have to do in the real time, but here we cannot afford to waste time, so that's why I'm doing it. So now if I go and refresh this, I would find the table. What if the case if one of the member is down? In that case, here it is initialized, here also should be initialized. So cloud never go down. That's a good thing. You have on-prem combination, on-prem server went down for maintenance activities or whatsoever. Then here, class is initialized from on-prem.
Ravi? Hello.
And I got muted again. the network is switching, then it is muting myself for what reason I'm not sure. This should never happen. This don't daily basis, it won't happen, right? So it's switching the connection. So what I did is I lost my connectivity. I added my IP back. What I'm doing is I'm I shut down the on-prem server intentionally. I'm just entering some data into teacher table. Thank you for a heads up. Actually, the network switching keep switching. That's where it is creating the issue. So now I'm entering the data into the cloud server. Both the servers, different data. 456 here. And when the on-prem is down, a lot of operations done. So how it syncs up the data? That's the question. So if I come here, teacher table. What was that table? It's taking too long to close also. Wait, this got hung. Hmm, still hung. Right. So teacher table, right. So if I go to here, teacher 456, I entered there. Here I'll enter 789. If you see 1, 2, 3, 7, is it in the sequence? The data not, but when it gets synced, it makes the sequence. It does inbuilt that mechanism. You don't have to worry about. So now, if I read data here, come on, you see the 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, and if I read data here, this is in sequence. But when the sync runs, it makes the data sequence. That is one thing you need to catch. 7, 8, 9. Okay, it is done already, it seems. Right. You see this 1, 2, 3. After 3, 7, 8, 9 was there. 3, 4, 5, 6 inserted in the order. Did you observe that? Actually 1, 2, 3 was there. I entered here 7, 8, 9. 4, 5, 6 got synced from here. Okay. If I go to the cloud, this sync. Okay. Databases. And then go to sync to other databases. Here, if I click on, I'll find the error. It is not able to connect to on-prem. So you don't read the error from here. Pick up the error into the notepad and read it from here. So make it wrap. So what it is saying, verify the instance name is correct and the SQL server is not configured to allow the remote connection. Generally, this comes because of network issue, because of port is not reachable, maybe the SQL server itself is down. 3 cases you see that issue. In fact, there are 3 probable cases. Network itself is broken, and the port got blocked, it is not able to reach, or the service is shut down. These are 3 probable reasons the service cannot connect, in fact, in the real time. Fine. The server is down. We know that on-prem server, it is complaining on the on-prem, and you did a lot of operations on the cloud. As soon as it comes online, at any point of after 1 month also, it doesn't matter. It syncs the data from the beginning, what it left off, not from the beginning. So wherever it is left off, from there, whatever the operations happened on the cloud side, it just get the data. It waits for a next schedule. The next schedule triggers, I'll run it. It syncs all the pending data. So though one of the member is down in the bidirectional replication, you don't have to worry about. Even in the one direction also or bidirectional also. When the members are down, when they come online, it push the data to that member automatically. Good thing with the pass is you never see the downtime. So it got synced. Though the member was lost. Was that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, Ravi.
If I wanted to add a new database, new server, just assume a case I wanted to add one more database into the replica group for any reason. Treat like this different server here. So you install the same agent, you do the same thing there also. What happened to this? This is grayed out. Please enter valid. Okay, we'll enter not this. We have the key. Here is the key. Agent key. Regenerate. If I regenerate, the old key will be gone. And we're fine. Right. So I'm going to add the. It's like other server, assume a case. You install the key. You installed this tool, and then you are getting the key and giving it there, kind of. So I'm adding the other database on the same server and going to the portal. I wanted to add one more member for any reason. So it is empty as of now. You don't have any tables. So it syncs all the tables from that group automatically. So I'm going to add one more on-prem. Here we have the same gateway. What I'm going to use it, and I'm going to select this on-prem 2 just for use case. Now I'll select the lab this time and bidirectional. Click it OK. Click it OK. That's it. You added one more member. You think it is like a different server. You did the same process there also. You can add n number of on-prem members, n number of cloud members. There is no limitation on it as long as you need it. So it returns to be 4. See? Now okay, sync is going on anyway, it seems. It is disabled means sync is already running in the background. It is not letting you run means. So it will initialize all the tables with all the data here. You just add it. That's it. It does the job. So yeah, data is loaded. So just adding is enough. Whatever the objects were there in the group, they will initialize to that new member automatically. Was that clear? Any questions? We are done. I mean, almost I covered all use cases. So if you have anything in your mind, let me know. Any questions from anyone?
Ravi, can you quickly recap what you done last minute?
I added a new database into the existing group, and then it picked up all the tables what you had in the membership. So it's in, what did I do? I have added into the same agent. I mean, our another database in the same server. Even I could have gone with a named instance if I had it. So in the same server. So treat like this as a different server. You installed the agent, cloud agent, what it was telling you to install, right? To sync a new member. If you come to here, you downloaded first, you then entered the agent key, then you added that on-prem server into the agent, then you are able to add into the group, right? The same thing you had to do in a different on-prem server if that also need to be part of the replica group. The process is same.
Okay.
Got it right? Okay. Any questions? Any further
Any,
questions?
any DMV is there, Ravi, to refer, except this portal where we can see the logs?
That's a good question. You don't have anything except watching the status from here only, which is sync, which is not sync. If it is one member is not sync, why it is not sync, it will write the error here only. You don't have any DMV, any monitoring other system. Only this is what is our entire end-to-end solution, what we get for this technology in the cloud, in the hub database. It is the entire management comes to the hub database. Is it clear?
If we select as a member win, then we can go with the member logs, right?
Right, but the case is, if you go with the member win case, you should have only one member in the replica group, not third member.
Uh,
One hub,
okay.
one member, go with the member win. Okay. But if I have
Okay.
more members, always hub should win. That is the rule of thumb. We're done with this. Any questions?
I'm good from my end.
Yeah. Any other? Fine. I'll stop the video then.